Tonight on News 5 Live, a brazen mid-morning murder in Dangriga. A young entrepreneur is killed on his business site. Heated debate in the Senate over ratification of a UN convention. Senator Courtney drops a bombshell revealing WhatsApp messages that the UDP administration had already initiated the same process. We'll show you what Belize's top tourism destination looks like in the middle of high season, and a look at the state of the Marion Jones Sporting Complex today. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
It's a fact that you can
You've worked hard your whole life building your future, your family, your business, your home. And when you aren't around to safeguard your most beloved assets, you are at ease because you know they are protected by RFG Insurance. For over 50 years, RFG has been making sure business owners get back to work after an accident, and families get back into their homes quickly after a natural disaster. At RFG, it's you who matters most. Visit us today and learn why it pays to get it right. RFG Insurance, a Rowe Group company.
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Thursday, January 28th. I am Marlene Cuellar. A business owner was shot and killed this morning in Dangriga. The car wash owner was at his property with a friend when the killer struck. He tried to get away, but he was shot twice. By the time police arrived at the scene, the businessman had been rushed to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Police recovered 4 9mm expended shells and 2 live rounds. Here's that story.
A killer walked into One Love Car Wash on Commerce Street in Dangriga around 9:30 this morning. But he didn't have any love for the owner. There, he pulled out his gun and fired multiple shots, killing 30-year-old Kenrick Logan Drysdale. Drysdale was reportedly with a friend doing some work in the yard. But that friend said that the killer was hanging around and made a calculated move on Drysdale. The friend narrowly escaped the bullets.
We already work together in front of the place.
What
I
time
the rake and he, that happened about around 8:30 to 9. And all of a sudden this young boy come from nowhere. But since I did me buy the lagan, you know what you want, say wait till lagan. Gone from me, I gone to the back in the by vehicle, if I got it, if I watch the vehicle, that day you get the next 2 more shots. I don't make that 2 shots on the street already, but they miss me, so they catch him and he gone back in the vehicle, right? That time he don't know where they going, right? That time body call bam 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 bam.
Drysdale was shot in the chest and lower back. He was pronounced dead at the Southern Regional Hospital. He had been operating his One Love Car Wash business in Dangriga for more than a year and was well known to the residents and in the business community. Last year, his small business fell on tough times when he had to close his doors due to the COVID-19 regulations. In an interview with our media colleague Giovanni Brackett back in April, Drysdale spoke of the hardships he was facing due to the pandemic.
The pressure to come down very hard. For 3 weeks right now, I locked down my place due to the COVID-19. I try to respect the law and whatever, but so far, I get to understand, and if the government get to understand or the media get to understand that a car wash also a part of this cleaning, because then without cleaning, people could also get sick with all and dust. The government workers are going to vehicle, they move around, they do their time to also need to get clean. And I think that, right now I got house rent for pay, I got light bill for pay, food to run out. I mean, that's not just me want to feel it, but then I just to say, on my behalf, people don't have their money, people want people to stop. Actually, they ask me if I got a lead job, if they got a job for make I do and I can't do it because I do to. I afraid them, but they can't charge me 5,000. I mean, it's very rough, brother.
The family declined to comment on the murder, but they described Drysdale as a hard-working, humble family man. They say that he didn't have any connections to gangs in the town or beef with anyone. Drysdale's friends also don't believe that he was the intended target. Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
The Senate today ratified the United Nations Convention on the Recognition and Enforcement of Foreign Arbitral Awards. It is also known as the New York Convention, which has been part of Belize's law since 1980. But why ratify now? According to the government, the formal ratification aims to facilitate the possibility of a debt for conservation related transaction, which can materially improve the state of the public finances. The NGO senator shared today that the government is looking to secure the partnership of an international environmental group to iron out a debt for nature swap deal, which can bring about much needed debt relief for the country. The debate was heated today and commencing the discussions with Senator for Government Business, Eamon Courtney.
The New York Convention, which we seek permission of the Senate to ratify, is and has been the law of Belize since 1980. More than 40 years ago. It has been the law of this country. In fact, it was the law of this country prior to independence. Madam President, it is therefore important for us to appreciate that all that is left now is the formal act of ratification. This is not something new. It is completing the legal and formal requirements for Belize to become an actual party to the convention. The second point I'd like to address, Madam President, is the question of why and why now. I make clear, I state as a fact, without the possibility of contradiction, that the matter is brought before the Senate today because the government of Belize is in the process of negotiating a debt instrument with counterparties, one condition of which is the ratification.
Keep the talking down. Please proceed.
The ratification of the New York Convention. Madam President, members of the Senate, that negotiation is something that began with the United Democratic Party administration, inherited by the current administration, which we perceive that if it is concluded is in the public interest. This is not something that started with the current administration. It is something that predated our coming to office. Madam President and members of the Senate, I would prefer not to go into the details of what is being negotiated. I would prefer not to name the parties involved because the negotiations are at a stage where they have not been concluded, and I am hoping that in the interests of Belize, politics does not interfere with the concluding of something that began with the previous government that we are seeking to conclude now.
Senator Courtney also explained that upon ratification, the government of Belize will enter a reservation. It will take the position that the ratification of the New York Convention has no retroactive feature.
The formality of ratification provides no legal benefit because it's already a part of the law of Belize. Nevertheless, the government has sought legal advice, and we have been advised that one step that can be taken which will give an assurance is when Belize ratifies, it enters a reservation What does that mean? That Belize will say, we ratify this convention, but we reserve the position that it will have no retroactive effect. It will not apply, as far as Belize is concerned, to awards made prior to Belize's formal ratification. It is the intention of the government, Madam President, that if this Senate authorizes ratification, to enter a reservation as advised by international arbitration experts to the effect that Belize's ratification is on the basis that it will not have retroactive.
And while that was the hope of the government, they did not enjoy the support of the opposition senators. Lead opposition senator made it quite clear that senators on his side of the House were never consulted. He says bringing the convention to be ratified now raises a lot of questions and concerns.
I heard Senator Courtney said that high-ranking government officials have been in contact with members of the Senate for consultation on this matter. I was never a balloon of self-importance, Madam President, but nobody consulted with me, and I'm the leader of the opposition in the Senate. Senators Salazar and Pitts have never mentioned to me, and we were in discussion on this matter up until this morning. Nobody has contacted Her Majesty's loyal opposition on this matter in terms of this motion. Why the rush? If it's already a part of our laws, then why the rush to do it? Well, Senator Courtney has said, and it was said in a press release by the government yesterday, that this is so that talks can go along in a debt negotiation that is ultra secretive and ultra sensitive, which I don't understand, Madam President. I don't know what can be so ultra secretive and ultra sensitive that we as the opposition have not been invited to be a part of. This is where I don't get it. We have to come to this august body to ratify a convention before talks can even proceed. The government is not saying that debt negotiations have started. We have come to a deal that's favorable to Belize, and in order to finish this deal, we need to ratify this convention. We have to ratify this convention so we can continue to talk, which means then we are already conceding and we haven't gotten anything yet. So what if we ratify this convention and the talks, the debt negotiation falls flat? Then what? We would have ratified a convention for nothing that we don't need to ratify, according to Senator Courtney. Which begs another question. If this is just a formality, if this is not, and I don't want to misinterpret what he said or misrepresent what he said, but if this is something that technically by law, according to the CCJ, this ratification is not even something that we need, then why are the people who we are negotiating with insisting on it before we even proceed to any more talks?
In response to lead opposition Senator Michael Parafit, Senator for Government Business Eamon Courtney pulled out black and white proof that shows that what was done today was a plan created by the Barrow administration. The PUP government says that this process was in motion before the November 11th elections. Today, Senator Courtney whipped out WhatsApp messages dated last year between a CEO, a former UDP minister, and the interested investor discussing the New York Convention's ratification.
There is this talk that the UDP did two things. That the UDP started this process before November 11. It's even in the PUP's press release yesterday. That is absolutely and utterly false. There were initial negotiations. We did commit to talk about it at some point in the future. But you know what was the problem, Madam President? We could not be convinced as to what was the connection between debt and conservation and arbitral awards. Where that come from? This debt restructuring that you're talking about. How does that benefit us?
I found out also, and I have heard about this before general elections, that indeed there have been some negotiations to set up a debt relief mechanism, and that ratification of this convention is a requirement of the U.S. government to offer insurance coverage that would support private investment for debt relief and conservation initiatives. They come with the pretense, but you never consult we. You never tell we. You did it. You were involved in it. Your government was the one who signed it, and I'm coming to you with the WhatsApp shortly. Madam President, we are dealing with a debt crisis in this country. The United Democratic Party started these negotiations. They came here pretending that they don't know what we talk about. I want to quote Mr. Perry, Senator Perry, absolutely and utterly false that it began under the UDP. Well, this is Dean Oliver Barrow, Prime Minister. But it goes worse, and I will make this available so that I don't have to call the names to the senators over here, because they have these documents. See it? Yesterday, people started sending me WhatsApp. I won't call the names. They refer to our AG. They refer to our AG. Madam President, this goes back to September 2020. This is coming from the person from the international institution to a CEO. Any word on ratification? I have a call this afternoon with Blanc, the minister, to discuss. Best case scenario would be if GOB can ratify. Let me tell you what the CEO says. Yes, I am pushing for that. I told the minister, and I'll call the name, that we can do that before the elections to ensure that the ball keeps rolling. Answer? Great, thanks. Then choir and pretend that they were not doing it. Next WhatsApp. Hey, now call no name. Any word on ratifying the New York Convention? I'd like to schedule a call next week with GOB team. Team? They had a team. To introduce Mr. So-and-so, our deal lead, who is stepping in since so-and-so is leaving soon. Please let me know when would be a good day and time. Now get the dates correct, right? September 2020. Hi, now call no name. I know that the minister was to talk to the AG yesterday. I'll get an update from minister. Who was the AG? Me. I know that minister was to talk to the AG yesterday. I will get an update from minister. Absolutely and utterly false.
Cut the disruptions down, please.
Good morning, minister. I hope you are well. I'm just checking in to see if there's any update from GOB on ratifying the New York Convention. I also wanted to request a meeting this week to introduce the dealee as so-and-so is leaving at the end of this week. Now hear the answer from the minister. In all likelihood, this appears not to be doable before the parliamentary term is ended. Don't come here and pretend that you don't know what we're talking about when you all were consulted. Don't come here and pretend that you don't know.
Senator, can we please keep the
See, they were talking
disruption
earlier
down?
who can't stand the heat.
It has to be
Get
on the
lashing
record,
out.
Madam President.
Senator, if you have a point, Senator, if you have a point, let it be on standing order, but can you please sit?
The point of order, Madam President,
Okay.
is that you can, what does this have to do with the ratification of the motion? Especially since you're reading imaginary text from imaginary people that we don't know. Call the names. Call the names of the people who you're reading from. Who you come and make that up last night, we don't know what you say.
High season in San Pedro. We'll show you what it looks like today when we come back. One of the hardest hit communities in the COVID-19 pandemic is San Pedro town. The once bustling tourist hotspot was the first part of the country to go into a lockdown in March of 2020. Then the borders were closed for the better part of the year. Even after reopening at the end of last year, businesses have been struggling to rebound and survive. Thousands are still jobless, and economic activity on the island is nowhere near where it used to be. News 5's Dwayne Moody was on the island today to see the attempt at recovery firsthand.
I chose Belize because it is a beautiful, beautiful country with beautiful people, and it's so welcoming, and everyone is just so friendly and kind, and this is where we want to be.
That is among the many reasons why tourists are still coming to the Jewel. But in what is traditionally the high season for the tourism industry, economic activity on Ambergris Key remains sluggish. Today, downtown San Pedro was busy. Vehicular traffic along the main thoroughfares thick. But it was not tourists experiencing the wonders of the top tourism destination of the country, but instead local residents going about their way, trying to earn a living in these unprecedented economic times caused by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Honestly, it's been really hard. You know, I'm a tour operator. And it's been almost a year, you can say, that, haven't had any business. But with the local people, man, there's always a way, we find ways how to eat pretty much and to pay the bills. That's pretty much all we're doing right now.
In the early stages of the outbreak in Belize, Ambergris Key was locked off from the rest of the country for 1 month. It was a drastic measure deemed necessary at the time by the government to contain the virus. But almost a year later, that decision is still haunting employers who are trying to keep staff hired and their businesses alive.
First, the lockdowns, the Sundays they were closing, they will allow us only 3 hours to open. Now the lockdown, 8 o'clock. It's our workers, they're only working part-time.
You guys have been losing money, right?
Losing a lot. Our products being expired, some of them, we have to throw them away. In big way.
Right now, you see things that pick up back, or is it still being affected?
It's still being affected because no tourists, because of the lockdown. Because tourists doesn't want to come to the island if the lockdown is 8 o'clock.
Quarantine regulations in place for months now restrict the opening of bars and have affected nighttime dining activities on the island, while hotels have transformed their restaurants into takeout only and delivery to offset the loss of revenues from dinner rush. It is still not enough. David Jenkins of Sandbar Beachfront Hostel and Restaurant breaks down what's been happening on his end.
At this time of year, we're usually running about a 90 to 95% occupancy rate, and right now we're lucky to have about 25 to 30%. And that's actually looking good compared to the last 10 months since COVID really first started hitting. Obviously, we're in our traditional high season right now. So we're blessed with a handful of guests that are great at providing, going out on tours and eating at the restaurant and stuff. But in terms of what it would normally be, it is a fraction of business. Since March, since COVID started, we knew that the pinch was going to be bad. And we've focused and promised ourselves that we're going to make sure that every dime that comes in is going to go to our staff. Hopefully June, July we see, maybe not a profitable month, but definitely an uptick. Hopefully there's enough vaccination going around in the States and Canada that it gives a little confidence a little more confidence to travelers there to come down. And obviously everything being handled here well, we're hoping that maybe June, July we'll see a nice influx. We've kind of chalked it up to maybe we can break even. Definitely not literally, we obviously hope for profit, but we're not expecting it.
Since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, the data shows that economic activity on the island is down drastically, causing many businesses, including shops and hotels, to shutter, leaving thousands unemployed. Minister of Blue Economy and Belize Rural South Area Rep. Andre Perez says that there is no overnight fix, but hope is around the corner.
To be honest, San Pedro and Kikaka were the first people to diversify because we were a fishing village once. So from there we diversified to tourism, embracing tourism. So now we are learning that we learn a lesson that placing your eggs in one basket is not a good idea. So two things are happening right now. We realize that in the future for tourism, we have to find something else alternative to hold us forward. So two things. One, we're working as the minister in the blue economy. That is a serious thing we're looking at right now as developing fisheries in terms of back to the fishing industry, how best we can do that. And that's what we're working through the Blue Economy. Secondly, as well, as a representative of Belize Rural South, we are also working in the BPOs.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
Earlier today, the United Democratic Party introduced its candidates running in the upcoming municipal elections for the Orange Walk Town Council. Led by mayoral candidate Orlando Castillo, the UDP 7 slate was presented at the party's headquarters here in Belize City during a live event. The Castillo ticket is made up of new faces representing the party going up against a PUP slate comprised of sitting town councillors. Here are the candidates.
Hello everyone, my name is Melvin Adolfos, and I thank you for this great opportunity to be here and represent Orange Walk Town. I have lived most of my life in Orange Walk Town, like most of these guys. I'm a tour guide, but apart from that, I have been in many organizations. For example, I'm part of the Northern Tour Guide Association, and also I'm part of a rescue team.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shamika Bull. I have lived in Orange Walk my entire life, and I decided to become a part of this dynamic team because I want to see a change in my hometown, and especially I want to be the voice for the youths in my town. And I am determined, I am energetic, and we are ready to get on with the work in Orange Walk Town. So I ask the people of Orange Walk to support us and let us go ahead with the work that needs to be done.
My name is Henry Gomez. I'm 29 years old. I decided to be part of this group of town council because I have seen the struggle that is happening in Orange Walk since the COVID-19.
My name is Rene Escalante, and I'm here representing the United Democratic Party for this upcoming municipal elections, March 3rd. I'm here asking all the Orange Walkeños for their support so we'll be able to serve the community and the town to the best of our abilities.
My name is Estelita Carlos, and I'm mother of a special child. I bring hope to you, to my people and my community, of caring, sharing, and consciousness and brotherly. And I wish to serve my community to the best of my ability.
My name is Andy Yam. I am 37 years old. I am in the teaching profession for more than 15 years. I believe that in order to move our country forward, we need good governance. And on March 3rd, I am humbly asking that you vote for the slate of the UDP 7.
It takes bravery to step up and serve your people. And I've always told them that in service of people, you can never lose because you're giving up yourself to serve your people of Orange Walk Town.
Former Deputy Mayor Oscar Arnold has taken up office as Director of Sports at the National Sports Council. It's an appointment given to him by the People's United Party government following his defeat in Collett during the November 2020 general elections. He's also a member of the Belize City Council under Mayor Bernard Wagner. Earlier today, Councillor Arnold told News 5 that he is stepping away from electoral politics for personal reasons and won't be contesting his seat on the Wagner ticket during this weekend's party convention.
For the municipals, no. I have advised the party chair and the Secretary General's office of the PUP that I would not be contesting the municipal elections for personal reasons, but I believe that we need to continue to groom and improve the cadre of young professionals in our party. I think there are some great young candidates. I believe that the councillors who are seeking re-election are also a great team. I was able to build a relationship with them while campaigning and while at City Hall. I still pledge my support to Mayor Wagner, and I've told him, whenever you need me, whenever you need my expertise, know that you still have a friend, and even more so, a friend at the National Sports Council. So the City Council has many sports programs that they've launched, and there's a lot more that they want to do. So I see it as an opportunity for us to be able to come together and do much more great things.
Arnold is among 4 councillors, including Michael Norales, Ryan Eligio, and Dr. Candice Pitts, who will not be seeking re-election at the municipal level. Pitts took to Facebook over the weekend to inform the residents of the city that she will not be seeking re-election due to my other national assignments and commitment. While Pitts didn't disclose what that assignment will be, best information to News 5 suggests that Pitts is likely to get a diplomatic posting. The family of 21-year-old Nigel Williams Jr. is calling on the Belize Police Department to investigate an act of police brutality. The family alleges that the young man was in his home village of Roaring Creek when police detained him for improper use of a face mask on Tuesday evening. The cops took him to the police station, and that's where the young man says a cop attacked him from behind and the other officers in the station did not intervene. Today, his aunt, Tricia Pelayo, is calling on the officials of the ministry and police department to investigate the incident.
This really hit home. Honestly, it really hit home. I mean, we listen to the news almost every night, and you hear about young men, young women being abused by the police. You know, he had his mask on under his neck, but he never have it properly on, I'm assuming. So they took him for that. No, they didn't ever have to do it and do it, Andrea. You know, so I just want justice. The family will try to seek legal counsel. We know the officer personally that did the abuse to him, but he got to the station and his back was turned, and all of a sudden he just feel hitting behind the back, and then he was pushed towards a door, and I think that what either caused the bruise on his eye. You know, but 4 other officers sat right there watching this one officer hitting and beat on my nephew, and none of them could do anything. He got charged for not wearing the mask, by the way, you know. But the whole thing is that we had to do a police report. We had to do seek medical. His eyes, for his eye right now, it seemed like he something is damaged with his eye. You know, we don't even know if he can get back to normal. This have to stop, Ange. This seriously have to stop. You know, hashtag end police brutality in Belize. You know, I'm calling on the Commissioner of Police. I'm calling on the Minister of National Security to do something about it. Home Affairs Minister, do something about it, because this now end.
Pelayo says her nephew has had to stop working his construction job due to the facial injuries he sustained from the attack. They've since made a report to Internal Affairs. He was the chairman of the UDP when they were in government, and now he's the deputy chairman of the UDP while they are in opposition. But tonight, Alberto August is the man who is challenging the Commissioner of Police. August took to Facebook on Wednesday afternoon to send a direct message to Commissioner Chester Williams. In the post, August calls out Williams for what he calls unjustified reasons to have him arrested. A furious August posted, quote, "A Love FM reporter on Facebook recently reported that police shot and killed Joel Sierra. The report devastated relatives and friends. It later turned out that the report was false. You let it slide. You didn't send your police to arrest her." On the other hand, Alberto August reported being told by the victim that he was beaten by police. Now you're forcing your police against their will to arrest Alberto August, unquote. August then warns the commissioner, saying, "Let it be known, sir, that you have too many skeletons in your closet to be venturing down this slippery, victimizing slope solely for the purpose of showcasing yourself in the eyes of your political bosses as you seek their favors to keep your job," unquote. August further warns, and let it also be known that many are the police personnel who are just waiting in the wings to bring out your skeletons, unquote. Well, our request for comment from the commissioner went unanswered. Today, the UDP chairman, Michael Perifit, was asked about the matter. Still to come, cannabis connoisseurs converge for a virtual town hall on the pros and cons of the hemp and cannabis industry. With the new U.S. travel regulations that came into effect on January 26th, all persons entering the United States must present negative test results. Local airline Maya Island Air has taken up the challenge of installing COVID-19 testing clinics at its locations across the country. Over the weekend, the Caring Hands Clinic Antigen Test Center was officially opened for services on Ambergris Key. News 5's Dwayne Moody reports from San Pedro town.
In San Pedro, visitors to the island who are in the process of returning to their countries of origin can now breathe a sigh of relief when it comes to acquiring the requisite COVID-19 tests needed to board their flights. Maya Island Air has taken on the initiative of installing antigen test centers at its locations across the country. Since January 22nd, they opened Caring Hands Clinic.
Their interest is solely based on the safety of their travelers and ensuring that we get tourism back up and running, but in a safe manner. I have dealt with COVID at every stage, from testing to examining to dealing with the patients who've had to be hospitalized, intubated patients, just at every stage. It's not just about testing and getting it going. I mean, although it's a very straightforward process, but we want to also have first world facilities where people feel safe.
Dr. Shauna Pott of Belize Healthcare Partners Limited is among hundreds of frontline workers in the country who have been fully engaged in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. So she's making sure that the facility is well equipped.
We wanted to create a first world facility where people feel safe and know that we can treat them at every step, at every phase. And so here we will be doing consultations as well. And so we have the pharmacy in the event that somebody needs any medication. It's fully stocked.
Traffic to the center has been slow as there are not many tourists on the island, as would typically be the case during this traditional high season. The testing process is carried out quickly, ensuring efficiency and safety at the same time.
When the guests come in, we check them in, we make sure that their name and birthdays are correct and all the information for their flight is correct so that they are able to enter the United States. We then, I get fully gowned up so that I'm fully protected, and then I administer the nasal swab test. Then I pass it off to my lab tech, who then runs the test. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to process, and after that we relay those information to the administrator, and he then provides that to the guest.
So the guests would be waiting while this is taking place?
That's really up to them. So they can either wait, and it takes about maybe 20 minutes total time, or they can go ahead and go on with their day and we can email them the results.
American citizen Jana Gilbert recently migrated to Belize along with her husband, as they are in the process of completing their home on Ambergris Key. Due to unfortunate circumstances, she must take a trip back to North Carolina in 2 days' time.
I feel like it's very smooth. We made a call and we set up an appointment to get a test, and they got me in and everything was just taken care of. I had no problems. Everything was just very smooth and very organized.
But the center is not limited to tourists alone. Dr. Pott says that residents can also access the facility for a test.
We're still open to just about anyone who wants to be tested. This is not just a facility that's for tourism alone, or just Americans or whoever's traveling to the U.S. But if you believe that you've had contact with a positive person, if you would like to know your COVID status, because remember that there can be asymptomatic cases and you want to protect the people around you, come over and get tested.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
Facilities are being set up in Dangriga, Placencia, and Belize City. The test will be available at these centers for $75 US or 150 Belize dollars. The Ministry of Health will add those test results from the private testing sites to their daily reports. Today, 4 new COVID-19 related deaths were recorded, along with 29 new confirmed cases. The number of confirmed cases now stands at 11,845. When News 5 caught up with Minister of Health Michelle Shabat on Tuesday, he spoke of the increased testing countrywide and reducing positivity rate. Since the start of 2021, the ministry's reported over 8,900 tests were conducted. The tests detected about 1,000 COVID-positive cases.
As you can see, the testing numbers are up, and thankfully the positive rates are down. And so that has been working really well. We're still reaching out to some of the villages, but that work is on an ongoing basis.
So how would you answer the criticism that you don't see a spike or increase in positive number, as we said before, because you're using rapid tests, which because the argument is that rapid tests, they can give a false negative if you're not symptomatic.
Well, the standard practice is that if you are getting a negative rapid test, you're re-swabbed to confirm the negative.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness will be hosting a press conference on Friday at 2 in the afternoon to announce updates on quarantine measures, and some of the changes expected to be announced are lifting the restrictions on inter-district traveling in the north and adjusting the curfew time. Former Executive Director of SETIM, Greg Chuck, has been appointed as the new Commissioner of the Toledo Land Rights Commission. In speaking with News 5, Chuck outlined the scope of his responsibilities in terms of implementing the consent order that was handed down by the Caribbean Court of Justice in respect of the Maya land rights decision that was handed down in 2015.
My appointment is the Commissioner of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, and it will include addressing the affairs of Indigenous people in Belize. But it will also include taking the lead on implementing the 2015 consent order of the CCJ. This appointment will relationship and renew commitment to the process.
Let's talk about the process going forward in terms of now dealing with the respective communities that fall within the indigenous umbrella.
I'm hoping that the broader Maya leadership, those of the Toledo Alcaldes Association, the Kekchi Council of Belize, the Toledo Maya Cultural Council, the Toledo Maya Women's Council, and the district chairperson for Village Council Association will come back to the table and allow the process to move forward.
A virtual town hall was held on Thursday night as a part of a public consultation process on hemp and cannabis's possibilities as a new growth industry in Belize. Regrettably, the discussion was not carried live by the media. Nonetheless, it was a healthy conversation discussing the benefits of legal cannabis cultivation. Several persons also participated in the discussion, including Alex Lavin, who has been at the forefront of the discussion as an entrepreneur. Chief Executive Officer in the Ministry of New Growth Industries, Kevin Arthurs, led the discussion.
This conversation that we've been having in relation to cannabis has been a very long one. I had the benefit of going through some of the past articles and paperwork in relation to the conversation, the national conversation on marijuana and cannabis. And I realized that since 2015, we've had a decriminalization of marijuana committee that was active. And in fact, they tabled, I believe, a report. And then that led to the passage of the Misuse of Drug Amendment Bill in 2017. So the issue of recreational cannabis has been a legal, decriminalized topic for at least 3 years. So this is the matured and the maturing context of that conversation.
The hemp plant and the cannabis plant, even though they come from the same species and same style genetics, they do not coincide very well when you're talking about commercial cultivation and you're reaching a standardization of a quality style product. And I say that because the majority of outdoor hemp turns into male or hermaphrodite plants, of which if you have a cannabis farm somewhere near that vicinity, let's just say call it 2.5 mile radius of that, then essentially you can jeopardize that farm. So I can't stress enough the difference between hemp products that are hemp-derived CBD products and cannabis.
We have a small population in Belize, so let's be real. It's not Belizeans that we're going to be catering for. We have to look at who is our market, who are we targeting? If it is that the 1.2 million tourists are coming into the country, is it that they're going to, like Mr. Labine said, are they going to want to consume products that have pesticides? Are they going to want to consume products that have powdery mildew?
Senator Osmani Salas says that there are many benefits that can be derived from hemp. According to Salas, the Belize network of NGOs has not formalized an official position on the matter yet, but says his only concern is that the small farmers may be left behind.
The Belize network of NGOs does not have a position on the matter currently, but I can tell you that when the matter of the decriminalization of up to 10 grams of marijuana came up in this National Assembly, in the Senate, which I supported, by the way, I still raised some serious concerns that were stated by a number of different agencies as to Belize's preparedness in a number of areas, mental health area in particular, if and when marijuana is legalized. I'm talking about marijuana, not hemp, right? But hemp, I mean, there are a lot of benefits for hemp. A concern there is to ensure that this is not only for the big man, but that small farmers also have a stake in that. So there's a lot of work to do on that yet. And at some point soon, the BNN will have a position on that. We don't have at this time.
After the break, Marion Jones Stadium. There's so much more than meets the eye. Earlier this week, we reported on the pending handing over of the Belize City Centre to the Ministry of Youth and Sports. The building is the last structure to be surrendered from the control of Belize Infrastructure Limited to the respective ministries under the Government of Belize. Today we visited another facility, the Marion Jones Sporting Complex, which we found to be in a state of disrepair. As it turns out, what you see on the outside is a lot different from the empty spaces and decrepit sections of the building. News 5's Isani Caetano reports.
Built at a cost that far exceeds $50 million, the Marion Jones Sporting Complex is on record as arguably the biggest construction hustle in Belize. Under the previous administration, the multi-purpose facility was billed as the premier venue for professional sporting events in the country, despite the inordinate length of time it took for the building to be completed. Named after former world champion track and field athlete Marion Jones, the massive 5-story concrete structure is just a facade. Beyond what is visible on the outside, the building is incomplete and areas that were once finished are now in a state of disrepair.
We were shocked when we came here and started to assume the responsibilities, because we all were around when we saw the soft launch in 2015, or I think it was 2016. And so in some of the public areas, that's very minimal when you think about the expanse of the building. The Marion Jones seemed to be an adequate facility. But when we start to peel back the onion, when we start to walk in the areas that the public won't ordinarily get to see, we realize this is a totally different story.
Under former sports director Richelle Dominguez, the Marion Jones Sporting Complex was finally opened to the public in 2016. 1 year later, the football field was illuminated during a formal ceremony hosted by then Minister of Sports Patrick Faber. Its upkeep has been the biggest challenge ever since.
The field really needs a lot of work to be done. I know that there was an investment done on the field, I think just about a year or 2 years ago, whereby they put in a lot of sprinklers on the pitch. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the field have just about 52 or 54 sprinklers on it. So there's a good sprinkling system to upkeep the pitch. But a lot have went wrong with the pitch itself, because the pitch sits on a bed of rocks. And that have been from the initial time when it was constructed.
That's just one of many faults that can be found in and around the compound. On the 5th floor, which houses the media and VIP boxes, the rooms are incomplete and were never used. There is no lighting, no proper seating, no air conditioning, and buckets that were used in construction over 5 years ago remain where they were left. For the price tag that this building was built for and what we're seeing, do you believe that there's value for money here?
Personal opinion, and this is an athlete for over 28 years, I don't believe so. We all chronicled the story of the Marion Jones from when it was began to when it finished, and I think there were different contractors, there were different phases to the project, and it seems that over the years a lot has fallen through the cracks, and we just need to tell the story so that people understand what our job is and what we're faced and what we're up against.
Since taking over the leadership of the National Sports Council in late November of last year, Oscar Arnold and his team have been doing similar evaluations at all sporting facilities owned and managed by the NSC across the country. What they have found is years of patent neglect.
All our facilities countrywide, including Marion Jones, was in a terrible mess. Moreover, you couldn't even walk from here over to the other pitch or to the running track because the grass was so high. So we really put some measures in place, get some more the few equipment we do have up and running, so that we could have start maintaining the field as much as possible. This, what you're seeing right now, is far better than what we have seen when we came here. We came here just about the 20th of November, and it was in a really, really terrible, terrible mess.
Such a chaotic state that repairing the Marion Jones will require a lot more from the already cash-strapped public purse. What I find sort of difficult to reconcile with mentally is the fact that so much money was spent on the building of the fence, and when you look at the structure itself, it seems rather incomplete. Is it now a matter for taxpayers' money to be used once again to see how this can be repaired?
At the end of the day, it will be taxpayers' money. We will be looking at how we could maybe source some grant funding, but taxpayers' money already went into this project. And like you rightly said, there's hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s on the football pitch. It's still not FIFA certified. The lighting around the Marion Jones as well. But for this main building itself, at least in the initial stages, some taxpayers' money will have to be spent.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Cayetano.
Meanwhile, Minister of Sports Kevin Bernard is setting the record straight. Bernard says that he was deeply offended when he heard that a group of footballers who were caught practicing told police that the Ministry of Sports permitted them to do so. Bernard took offense because it is against COVID-19 regulations to engage in contact sports like football. The incident happened in an area of Banana Bank where police caught 25 persons playing football. According to Bernard, one of the persons, Dale Palayo, told officers that the training was sanctioned by the Ministry of Sports. Bernard went on record to say he would never sanction any illegal activity.
We were informed that a team of footballers were practicing basically. But why we sent out this statement is because in the communication that we got through the police was that the individual whose name was mentioned stated that the Ministry of Sport sanctioned this event. And I wanted to make sure that people are clear on the point that not under this ministry, not under this minister, we are going to break any rules. We know that there are regulations out right now. Sports in this country is limited. Contact sport is still not being allowed to be played, and I am aware that people want to get on track, want to do certain activities leading up to certain future events, but we must adhere to the rules and regulation, and more so not using the name of the ministry when there was no such approval, and so I took offense to that.
We also asked Bernard about the People's Stadium in Orange Walk Town. The facility was used regularly for sporting and other big events, but since COVID-19, it has hardly been used. And when the minister made a visit there, he realized that it had hardly been maintained. Bernard says the facility was so abandoned that it will take serious work to bring it back to its original state.
I believe that as a young child growing up, and yourself, Hippolito, you would know that was one of the landmark area when it comes to sport in this country. And it really upsets me when I went there to see the disgraceful condition of the People's Stadium. But it's not only the People's Stadium. There are other facilities across this country, the Recalde Stadium in Corozal. There are some facilities in the Benque and San Ignacio area that have been left abandoned. I mean, there was no interest in trying to ensure at least the maintenance of these facilities. I understand there was no sporting because of COVID, but you could have at least tried to maintain the facilities to a level that it is you're easily able to go back to work with. We have to start all these things all over. The People's Stadium will take us at least 2-3 times to go in and maintain, to try to get at least even the grass to grow at a level so that it can be properly maintained. And so, under the new fiscal year, we are putting out our budgetary proposals.
A 19-year-old resident of Keycocker needs your help to get a much-needed surgery. Rondell Usher was on a fishing trip 4 days ago near the island when he was injured in a boat accident. Usher, a father of one, is no longer able to walk and has suffered injuries to the spine. His friends and family are now trying to raise $50,000 to take him to Merida to get an operation that will improve his quality of life. Today, Usher's friend, Gabriela Gonzalez, spoke with us about his condition.
They said that he had fractured his neck and he has 2 broken bones in his neck where your right where your spinal cord begins. So we all know the spinal cord has all the nerves there. So he fractured his spine and he's completely immovable right now.
Okay. So now you're trying to raise funds for what?
So because of his because he's not able to move, the only way that the doctor is explaining it, he cannot move at all. He has no feeling from the neck down. So up to right now, Rondell actually doesn't even know what's going on. He thinks he can't feel anything because of the pain meds. He doesn't know that he won't be able to walk again. The doctor is saying that with this surgery, they will be able to fix his spine a little bit because it's twisted right now. It's fractured. With the surgery, they'll be able to fix his spine, and with electrotherapy, they'll be able to maybe regain feeling in his body because he has a lot of nerve damage. Without this surgery, they are saying he won't be able to move at all. He will lose chance to ever walk again. And because of his nerve damage and not being able to feel anything from the neck down, his organs will stop functioning eventually, and they're not sure if he will make it throughout the year without the surgery.
If you can assist Usher to help pay for his surgery, you're asked to deposit payment to Atlantic Bank account number 211-541-349. The new COVID-19 variants explained. That's coming up in Healthy Living.
In response to COVID-19, the government of Belize has implemented strict guidelines on persons to practice social distancing to reduce the spread and risk of getting COVID-19. Practicing social distancing is when one maintains a greater than usual distance away from another person. In public health, it is a practice to prevent sick persons from coming in close contact with healthy people. Recent studies are showing that social distance of 3 feet or more decreases the exposure of COVID-19. Before these restrictions, a person with COVID-19 could infect 2.5 persons in 5 days, 406 persons in 30 days. When you put into practice measures to reduce the exposure activities by half of that one infected person, in 5 days you would possibly only infect 1.25, 30 days, 15 persons. Reduce the exposure of that infected person by 75%, in 5 days you infect 0.625, in 30 days 2.5 persons. Remember, the virus does not move on its own, people move it. The more space between you and others, the harder it is for the virus to spread. A health and wellness message from your Ministry of Health.
In partnership with the British High Commission.
You may have been hearing a lot lately about the new COVID variants recently detected in other parts of the world. The UK variant, the South African variant, and the most recent Brazilian variant. But what do scientists know about these new variants, and what does it mean for us in Belize? Here's more in tonight's Healthy Living. When talking about the new COVID-19 variants, the first thing we must understand, according to internist and intensivist Dr. Jorge Hidalgo, is that it is normal for viruses to mutate.
It mutates since the day one. I mean that some mutations essentially are imperceptible. The virus continues life. Some others essentially end the virus life more quickly. But in some particular cases, like the UK variant, is that those mutations, as I show, it will have certain properties in the virus that will take advantage.
When those mutations start to change the behavior of the virus, there is cause for concern. In September 2020, the first variant was discovered in the UK. The following month, in October, another new variant was found in South Africa. And now there is confirmation of a Brazilian variant. These three variants are concerning because they're all more transmissible.
That's more transmissible mean that as we remember, we usually have the spike, the characteristics of the virus. No? I mean that the spike protein, which is the most important one, that essentially make more attached to the body. I mean that that's mean that it's, the way how we are getting is more easy. It's basically the ability to the virus to attach to the person and make the person sick more easy. No?
According to Dr. Hidalgo, there is added concern about the new Brazilian variant and its potential for causing reinfection.
This particular one they are saying that there are certain problem with the antibodies, but I think so we will need to have more information with this particular one.
How does this impact or prevention efforts here in Belize? At this time, samples have been sent outside the country to test the country's strain. We do not have those results as yet.
But what we need to do immediately is trying to adhere to that we are preaching all the time, social distancing measures, and of course isolation and quarantine. In countries like us that unfortunately we don't have all the resources, it's best to prevent rather than in a few weeks we are trying to see an escalate of cases that is probably could be out of control. No? Just talking yesterday with one of my colleagues, an intensivist in Spain, and they are saying that the number of cases they are seeing is completely out of hand right now. And again, is the fact that more people are getting sick, but also unfortunately are the more vulnerable people. No? You know, right now is that it make more people sick. That means that there are more people in the hospital. The health system is in more stress. There are more people in the ICU. Mean that's the reason why we also seen increase on mortality.
Scientists say the best way to stop these and future variants is by slowing the virus's spread. For some countries, that is through vaccination, which so far prove effective against the new variants.
So far, the Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna vaccine, they already trying and also shown some data that it proves effectivity with that. No?
Until Belize gets access to the vaccine, Hidalgo says we can stop transmission by wearing your mask, hand washing, social distancing, and avoiding crowds. And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at News 5 Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, Please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.